Hey everyone, it's Xant. So, I'm going to do another, kind of like I did this in the past actually, not a really highly edited video, just a quick one to talk about the new parts that got added with the Covert Gerbera event. So, first off, actually I just logged in now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and take a look at the welfare first, after I finish fighting all the menus and whatnot. So, let's take a look here. Coin exchange, Covert. There we go. Alright, the Tetra head. Okay. Ooh, it has the full backpack too? Cool. Okay. Interesting name tags. The body. EX skill output by 6. Okay. And then more Xeon code, okay. BD. Okay. So, I was right when I said it was probably going to be a little more damage than it was going to be debuffer. So, yeah, okay, cool. Cool. So, more of a damage type than a debuffer type gun. Only 8 shots, though, so I wonder what the fire rate's like. And oh, the legs have a melee combo, D, C-. Not bad. Not bad for a 3-star part. Yeah. Okay, what about the backpack, though? This I'm curious about. Okay. It's not bad. And the gun. Okay. So looking at the parts, clearly it's most of the traits they're interesting. You have all the anti-Gundam type ones. This is definitely looking to be kind of like a boss killer, I guess is the best way to put it, because I think most of the bosses we've played against have Gundam type. But here's my question though, because with Gundam type enemy, does that mean the enemy needs to have the Gundam type word tag? Or does it just need to have a part that has the Gundam type tag? Because if it requires the Gundam type word tag to be active, so a decent amount of parts have it, that's asking a lot. We'll probably run into it in the story, but that's even then. And obviously same goes for the chest. The damage output's not that bad actually. I almost want to say I want to run that chest, but the problem is because it's a 3-star part, even if I upgrade it to 4-star, it's going to be worse than my Dynamis chest. Like, I guess I could technically run, like, a gimmick setup if I run that with the new wings, but I don't know if I want to invest that much into it, frankly. The autocannon's not that bad either. That looks pretty neat. Something to try out. I'll definitely be getting all the parts, at least, to get them all the max EX skill for blue. I don't know if I'm going to invest in them and make them purple, though. I made the mistake of doing that with the Rising, because I thought I'd actually use it, but no. So I'm going to have to be a lot more selective. Although I really like the design of this. The Xeon machines have always looked really neat. I like the way that they look in general. Okay. So I'm going to say for a welfare, a lot like the Blitz, this has a very set niche of kind of what it's supposed to be doing. This one's a little more flexible. It doesn't require your machine to be speed type like the Blitz did, but it's also a little more close-ended because its things are for Gundam type, which I'm going to say, depending on the criteria that requires to actually be active, could be a lot more difficult to actually do. And it seems they're still using the 800 cost for the purple parts, which is really nice. Ooh. Can I preview? Oh. That's actually really cool, though. They added the Astray red as a color you can pick. That's nice. I'm happy with that. I'm going to hurt this event because I'm not rolling the gacha at all. Talking about that, let's take a look at the gacha units that got added. Capsule. Okay. Lay it on me. We'll do the pilots first. Seabook, what's up with you, my friend? Oh, nice shot attack. Alright, so what's your technique? Enemy all power reduced by... Wow. So if I'm understanding, that's just like a flat 18% decrease to all damage that your opponent's gonna do. pretty cool. That's really cool. Nice. Okay. And his stats look pretty decent. Definitely for mid-range solo shooting. Okay. So, and obviously the protagonist word tag. Okay. Okay. So I just looking at him, honestly, I really like that this trait of his, the ability to just flat reduce all damage. That's really cool. If you currently don't have a good pilot, he might be a good pickup for you, because that's a really good ability. But remember, you do need to have a technique Gundam, or Gunpla, which means you need 5 parts to be technique or more. So if you're not able to fill that bill, it might not be a good idea, you know. But I like that ability. That's pretty cool. Okay, and Dearka with power attribute shock guidance. Okay, so this confirms what I had said about the Mirage Colloid. I was on the fence. I wasn't sure whether or not there was like actual fuzzy lock on people or not. So when you fire, your bullet kind of flies towards them a little bit, and if they leave that invisible cone, it'll just stray off and keep going straight, right? And this confirms it. So from what I'm gathering from this, that invisible area that's in front of you is getting boosted, increased. So they have to move more to break away from your fire, which is really cool. See, the thing is with Dearka, it's actually really thematic, because in the series he starred in, Gundam Seed, his machine, the Buster, was literally a long-range artillery machine that had 2 laser cannons guns. I'm not really sure what to classify them as. Individually, they'd fire beams, and when you put them together, they'd have different effects. One was like a spread shot, and the other was a large focused beam. So his attribute or trait being that he boosts shot guidance is just really thematic, because his entire shtick was long-range bombardment. So yeah, long-range support. That's nice. I like that. That's actually entertaining. I like that. 10 out of 10. Even though he's only a 3-star, that's extremely thematic. I like that. And the rates are probably, yeah, okay, so he's boosted up to 2%, and Dearka's at 8. So that's not bad, actually, for rates. Okay. Cool. So my honest opinion on the 2 pilots, Seabook is really good if you run a technique machine, and or if you don't have a 5 or 4-star pilot yet, because the stats are just amazing, especially if you use shooting, because his stats help with shooting quite a bit. Anyways, I'm not really sure where to put them on a tier list if I were to have one in front of me. I'd say Seabook is pretty high up there, though. That's a very unique trait, even though it's locked to technique. And yeah, it's just a flat damage reduction. Like, I don't think I really need to go into too much more detail on that. Flat damage reduction is amazing. And Dearka, for a 3-star, I really like his part trait as well. And it's, like I said, thematically, it's really entertaining to see. Like, 10 out of 10 for thematics. So let's talk the machines, because these are kind of important. We're going to start with the Dragon Gundam, though, even though it's going to be a little more annoying. Yeah, the Fei Long flag, I figured that'd be the weapon. Okay. Outfighter job buffs. Okay, I'll start with the head. Easiest place to start. Okay. Attack with the Q-blade on your head, lowers hit enemy Gunpla's melee defense. Cool. Yeah, so that was the blade that I was talking about in my prior breakdown video, just talking about the machine. So it uses the head like a whip and reduces the target's melee defense. Has decent tags. It's definitely the Dragon Gundam in lore, from what I've come to, because I did watch G Gundam when I was a lot younger, and I remember snippets of it. It was very much a melee machine. The Fei Long flags were more like a special technique kind of thing, even though he could use them technically at range because of the flamethrowers. He was definitely more of a close-range melee type. So that's him having a close combat word tag on the machine. Nice. D Pierce C power, but it's physical. I wonder what the range on that is. Because that's one thing, right? There's some melee range, some melee skills that when used are ranged, and those are really powerful because you get all the damage of melee while being able to stay at ranged. And if you haven't noticed, melee does a lot, especially when in skills, like upwards of 1,000 plus damage, while your shooting does like 200. Yeah, even if the numbers are pretty much the same. So having a ranged physical melee skill is brutal. Alright. Next up, the chest. Ooh, hyper mode, okay. Okay. Yep, speed by 20%, melee by percent. Okay, cool. So, as expected by pretty much everyone, the chest is just the EX aura, whatever the name for it was. I'm not going to pull it up. So yeah, you just get a boost for duration. Not bad. Not bad. Mobile fighter, close combat. Okay. Dragon Claw. Is that the fire flamethrower? Yep, burst of flame. And shot defense decrease. Okay. Low pierce, decent power. Yeah, gotta remember, right, this is a 3-star machine, this isn't a 4-star, so it's not gonna have as high overall specs or numbers on piercer power, right? So that's not bad, actually. Okay, the foot, outfighter, shot attack raised by 1%. Oh, close shot, okay. Oh, yeah. So there's 3 different types of shooting. I brought it up in one of my prior videos with the job licenses regarding range. There are guns designed for close range, guns designed for medium range, and guns designed for long range. I didn't cover that, unfortunately. Beam machine guns are made for close range. I think bazookas are as well. Beam rifles are designed for long range. And I can't remember what the type is for medium range. But for this guy, close shot attack raised by 1%. The most benefit you're going to get from that is going to be from a machine gun type, because that's where the boost is. You can obviously get it with any gun, it's just passively those are going to get a reduction when you get out of the effective range for the weapon. Mobile, high firepower, cool. This is kind of a unique set of word tags. Okay, so looking at the traits, looking at the way that the armor is distributed, he has a lot of stuff in shot defense, way more than melee defense. So what I've gathered looking at the frame, so the main body parts, this machine is geared up heavily to be a melee type and highly resistant to shot. It has very low melee defense though. So, although I guess that's why it's EX traits, right? All about reducing. Yeah. Cool. And Hell Jumper. That's the... Okay. Okay. And then it drops the enemy's beam resist further. And that's because, yeah, okay. So, the way that this works, if you have all the parts for the machine and you have a pilot designed for Outfighter, you'll run in, you'll do your hits and whatnot, and preferably you'll hit with, the Fei Long flag, reduces the beam resist. Because the weapon is a beam melee type, you'll be doing extra damage because beam, right? You're reducing the enemy's beam resist. And if they try to hit you with long range, you have a lot of resist to it. And yeah, it's not a bad machine. Not for a 3-star. Not at all. And yeah, it's all technique as well. So if you got the entire Dragon Gundam, you could technically use it with Seabook. Let's take a look at the Astray. Of course, it's speed. There's so many speed type machines in this game. My lord. Alright, Eagle Stellan, anti-air, yeah. And yeah, that's a debuffer type gun. Reduces melee and shot defense by 1%. Okay. Not bad. Really high melee defense, decent shot defense. The chest, Infighter, yeah, because this machine was definitely kitted for close range combat. It never got used really for long range outside of a couple of like cutscene style fights. EX skill reduced 20%, or CD, good word tags. Yeah, this machine's looking really nice. Ooh, what are you? Lightning Ball. Charge arms with beam, rush, tackle, and physical resist down. Okay. So, you've probably seen the cutscene style physical attacks in the game, where it pretty much, the camera cuts into your character, you do something, and then you dash at the enemy. That's what this is. They are counterable by just guarding or moving out of the way. At least from what people have told me. I haven't fought someone that's used it on me since that story chapter fight, and I cleared it before I heard that tidbit of info. So, it might be true. But the rush ones always do a lot of damage. Same goes for like last shooting on the Gundam beam rifle, right? Just stupid damage from them. Anyways, yeah. Ooh, the melee attack on those arms, though. Oh boy. Bisect. Is that a physical melee ranged? No. Okay, draw the Gerbera straight to bisect with a mighty swing. You recover maximum armor for the entire party and melee attack up? Boy! Are you seeing this? Yo! Alright, so obviously that's a heal for your team and melee boost for the entire squad. That's really cool. I like the whole like heal gimmick that's been showing up now recently, because we had like the Exia, we had the Blitz head, now we have this. That's really cool. I like the idea of heals, although the squad heal makes it kind of really good. And then the melee attack up as well. Okay. And that works really well because the suit is designed for the infighter job. Yeah, and if you manage to also get the pro tag, which is on like all the parts, you get an extra 10% melee damage anyways. And then he gets another physical, beam melee, cleave through with sabers in each hand. Pretty typical. Yeah. Yeah, that's nuts, actually. That's... Okay, what are your weapons, though? The Gerbera straight? Okay, so it's a separate weapon. You can use... I'm assuming you can use the EX skill on the legs without the Gerbera straight. Pierce A, Power D. Ugh. Yeah. Oh man. That looks like a nice skill. Physical melee. Yeah. Okay. And I think there's like one more part after this. Infighter, shooting power reduced by 1%. Alright, so looking at this, it has very high melee defense, okay shot defense. The shield is meant to compensate for that though with its part trait. I actually like that part trait, just flat reducing all shooting power by 1%. It works really well for melee machines, especially if you get your hands on a part. Actually, Infighter in general reduces your... Sorry, I think it nullifies flinch when you're dashing, if I remember correctly. So if you pair that up with a part that allows you to use a rush style attack, the only real option the enemy has is, stopping you with guard or evading your... a dash type attack, because if you don't flinch, terrifying when you have high physical melee damage. That's cool. I actually really like the way that they did the Astray in this. Okay, so the Dragon Gundam, I'd say, is pretty good. I don't honestly know if it's worth re-rolling for if you're going to start the game now. Like, it's a good machine, but because it's 3-star parts base, it unfortunately will suffer from low overall stats. And because it requires an outfighter job, you're going to have to hit up the Gacha to find a decent pilot for that. Obviously, the same goes for the Astray, where it requires an infighter job, meaning off to the Gacha you go if you want to get a pilot that'll really benefit from that. But the flip side is, because it's base 4-star parts, it's just going to have really high stats. There are great pieces in the Astray set. There are some really nice pieces in the Dragon Gundam set. It's really hard to actually say which parts are the best out of all these. I'm going to say that the legs here, bisect, is a really nice skill. Come on. I wish there wasn't so much loading all the time. They should do better with their caching. But with A power and D pierce, if you have good melee attack, that's going to just rip things apart. Especially with the 2 bonuses that it gives, the maximum armor regeneration and the melee. That's just... man... So I think out of all the parts from the Astray, the legs and the sword are really, really nice. The shield is not bad either because of its thing, but it's obviously restricted to in-fighter. But if you have an in-fighter pilot, you might want to pick up that shield to help you with dealing with ranged. Alright. And then with the Dragon Gundam, that Hyper Mode chest piece is really nice as well. That actually... that might be worth investing in. Problem is, right, this shows us level 10 max 10. So these numbers that it shows are going to be a lot lower in reality, probably more like 8 to 10%, maybe even lower than that. So you would have to get a couple of copies of this to really make it shine and make it worthwhile. But yeah, it's not a bad skill. Not a bad skill at all. And then the Dragon Claw, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think for the Dragon Gundam, the weapon and the chest are the best parts from it. And then, yeah, Fei Long flag and the chest piece. And then from the Astray, I would definitely say the legs because of the Gerbera straight, the weapon. If you don't have a good pair of arms, picking these ones up might not be bad because of the ability, the EX skill on it as well, right? Rush tackles. It's weird talking about, you know, what to re-roll for and whatnot, because we get a new gacha every week at this point, and it's really reliant on what pilots you have at the time, what other parts you have. If you're on a fresh account, you know, you have a lot more flexibility as to what you're going to be rolling for and all that stuff, but it still just kind of comes down to, even if I say you should re-roll for these parts, almost every single one of them is probably going to be one-upped within a week or two because of the rate we're getting new content and parts. So if I were to suggest a couple of parts to reroll in this, okay, for one, I would go back a few I'll actually include it in the description. I did a reroll video when we got Xant Dynames, and I covered all the original parts we had at launch. I covered all the parts that we had through Xant Dynames, and I made sure to trim out the parts that had been removed, because New Gundam, I didn't realize was being taken out of the game, but it was. So I would watch that video first. What that'll do is it'll give you a good base idea of what's available in the standard capsule pools. In other words, what you're going to get while you're rolling this. Because even though this is a rate up and it has its own stuff, it still has the original Gundam parts. It still has the stuff from, yeah, Divider and Ale and all the other parts. So it's difficult to make this type of video because I'm just pretty much building on the last one that I made a week ago, and then that builds on the one that I did the week before, and so on and so forth. So if I were to say, out of all the parts that are in the gacha, what's best? What should you re-roll for? I'd still say the Gundam Beam Rifle, its last shooting is just too good to pass up, right? The X-Divider's head, because of its fusion of melee and shooting buffs, you know, that's like really, really good as a part, right? You have arms as well, like you have I think it's the Gundam arms that have the beam sword ability that's really good, but now you have it as well in like the Astray Red, right? So, what I'm trying to say, long story short, even if I wanted to create a tier list for this game, it would have to be updated so constantly due to all the updates we're getting, and it's just, I think it should honestly come down to what parts you want the most as a player. Because even though you could argue that there are meta parts that are the best, unless you're a whale, you're not going to be able to maximize the usage of them anyways. Because one thing you really have to know about this game, if you don't already, is C power, combat power, is completely arbitrary. You've probably seen pictures of people with like 50,000 C power or 80,000 or more. And all that is them leveling up the EX skills of their parts. That's not actually like a damage number. This is how much better their machine is. The only real difference between a suit that has 30,000 C power and 80,000 C power is the EX skill level. But because all we have is AI controlled PvP, so it's you versus an AI, it's not going to really abuse the abilities it has in a way that will, you know, be a demerit to you. So even if you fight an 80,000 power machine, unless all the parts are gold and maxed out, you're not going to have that much of a difference in terms of raw stats. So you'll be able to fight them on even ground, even if it's a scary number. And even that, getting like 30,000 power is as easy as just leveling your purple parts up to 60, right? Like, okay, someone actually asked me before what my setup was, right? I have a 35,000 power unit here that I'm sharing. It uses the Rising Gundam head from a couple of events ago, and then it has all my other standard parts, right? And that's 35k power. When I switch that Rising Gundam head, and I put the current head that I have now, the Barbados head, I drop down to like 28k. And all that is because the Rising Gundam, even though it's a 3-star part upgraded to purple, and it has less stats, is because the EX skill is higher. That's it. In reality, if I pitted those two machines against each other, I would actually think the lower power one would win, because even though this head has higher C power stats, the Barbados head has, actual better flat stats, right? So when you're re-rolling in this game, you could sit there and re-roll for days. You could re-roll for weeks. And the problem is, unless you're getting, 10 copies of a part in a roll, it's no different than rolling 2 or 3 purple parts that are subpar, right? Just don't worry about it too much, right? Anyways, I've gone on long enough about that. If I were to suggest parts to reroll for, I would suggest anything from the Astray, preferably the arms, the legs, the weapon, maybe the shield. From the Dragon Gundam, honestly, because like I said, it's a 3-star, not a 4-star part, I would only really worry about rerolling these if you really, really want the Dragon Gundam. But the chest is good, the weapon's good. Anyways, talked about the machines, talked about the pilots, all that fun stuff. I'm going to wrap up this video here talking about just kind of the breakdown of the machines, and I'll upload another one shortly that talks about the... actually, I went over the event as well, so I don't have to do that, do I? Nah. Alright, well I guess that's it. I don't have to do anything else. I can just go to bed. Awesome, 10 out of 10. I will do another video soon. Not sure on what, though. I guess maybe when we get another piece of news or something. Anyways, peace out. See you in the next one.